Hello and greetings from Iceland, but today we will focus on the earthquakes in and around Grindavik and also the overall situation, but we just got it confirmed that the land uplift has been detected near the town or 20-30 millimeters for the past 2 weeks, and that's even more than before the nearby eruption in 2021. And the civil defense in Iceland came very close to evacuate the town back then, but luckily the eruption came up in Fagradalsfjall. But will we get so lucky this time? Where could the eruption come up? How is the landscape around town? And what can we learn from it? So join me for a full tour as we prepare for the next volcanic eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula. Grindavik is the home of 3,300 people and a successful fishery town that might be the epicenter for many of the natural disasters to come, since according to our scientists, the ongoing chapter of seismic unrest could go on for the next 150 to 100 years with frequent eruptions and earthquakes. So last year we were in fact just browsing through some of the first pages of that long book. And this Cape Hobsnes, is around 8,000 years old, and it formed most likely the best port by the south coast of Iceland, which answers why people choose to live around here. But nature gives and nature takes, and if lava would flow into this harbor, it's over for the town. But there is just so much else at stake. So let's take a look at the map from high up first, where we have the complete Reykjanes Peninsula. But Grindavik is only about 30 minutes drive from Reykjavik, and the Cape is here again. And here we have the Blue Lagoon, and from those landmarks you should be able to know your way around as we take off from around here, just north from town. So off we go. And Iceland's hottest tourist spot, the Blue Lagoon, is here. And behind it we can see the Keflavik International Airport through the mist. And the mountain to the left is Mount Thorbjörn, perhaps the most obvious precursor to the eruption in 2021. It is now believed that the land uplift there had something to do with pressurized gas, in addition to tectonic plate movements and magma. But I'm not a geologist, and all the fancy words in science reports take all the fun from geology for me. I'm more into ISO and shutter speed, and to show you the landscape. So I'm sticking to that, as always, trying to keep things simple, but using the latest science information, of course, to work from. And this is the place where land uplift has again been detected, but more about that as we move on. The Blue Lagoon is by far the most popular tourist destination in Iceland, with the fanciest hotel in the country as well. And beside the lagoon, we have the power plant that supplies the water for the lagoon, but before they built it, there was nothing here but a grey and dull lava field. But let's move the camera now. This might just be the biggest threat for the town, or one of the youngest row of craters around. It's called the good and strong Icelandic name Sundahnjúkagigaröðin, or the Sundahnjúkar row of craters, to make this really easy for you. And we had constant earthquakes there before the eruption last year. So this was one of the locations that we were worried about back then. And as a swap to map view again, I'm going to add this earthquake layer on top of it. The old craters look like this, and the earthquakes around look like this since January 1st, and like this for the last few days. And there is an obvious increase in earthquake activity for the last 2 weeks especially. But just look at this beautiful formation. The last eruption occurred 2,000–3,000 years ago, and some of the lava back then flowed toward the Blue Lagoon down that hill, but most of it flowed to the north and through the middle part of Grindavik as we know it today. And this is what the town is really made of. Tourist brochures say that the cape that we see now from the north was formed from lava from the Sundahnjúkar craters, but experts say that the cape is in fact way older and originated somewhere below us, but those craters are not marked on any geology map that I've gone through, and they might just as well be under the Sundahnjúkar lava field. So Grindavik is truly a volcano town, and I'm sure that I will get the question, how can people live here, in my comment section. But let's turn back again, face the east now, and here we have Mount Fagradalsfjall and the lava fields from last year. There was a real risk that the lava from there could have flowed all the way into town and even all the way to the Blue Lagoon, but for that the eruption had to go on for years, or at least produce way more lava than it actually did. And keep in mind that the eruption in 2021 was indeed a very small eruption after all, and very tourist friendly. So let's move up there to the volcano and look back. And as we approach the lava barrier that did hold back then, you should understand why it was made, or to keep the lava from this valley, from where it could have flowed to Grindavik and the Blue Lagoon. Sealed volcanoes can go on for years, and the Fagradalsfjall volcano is only one of over 20 such formations on the peninsula. So the barrier gave us some control, and the lava did accumulate in this valley, where we had another barrier that will most likely end up as a monument. But it was made to protect the South Coast Road and a little farmhouse down there. And I have to mention that the magma dike from Mount Keilir that we see here in the background is still producing many earthquakes right under us, or where that magma intrusion came to a dead end. So we never know if that story will at some time point continue. But let's go back and face Fagradalsfjall again and look at this formation, or a little sealed volcano just north from town, and nicely shaped as they often are. But the last eruption there was like 12,000–14,000 years ago. So although there are some earthquakes around it now, it doesn't look like it's coming back to life again. But the location tells us that there are many old major magma pipelines around town, and we only just started. And this is the peninsula in a nutshell, just lava fields after lava fields overlapping each other. So it's quite a task for our experts to work their way through this layer cake. And as I was trying to work my way through the geology map, I noticed that the Sundanhjúkar row of craters is actually way longer than I previously thought. But here, beside the highway between Grindavik and the Blue Lagoon, we have this small row of craters that are thought to be from a separate eruption, but it seems not. So let's go with the flow from that one. And last week's earthquakes show that they follow the crater row all the way downtown. I'm not talking about large earthquakes though, or any unfolding drama. I'm just saying that it's noticeable that this crater row is shaking from end to end. But then, where does it in fact end? And that's when things get only more interesting. So off we go again with a fresh drone battery, and just west from town this time. And then we find this. But I only noticed this formation on an old aerial photo a while ago. But I knew I had to check this out, because this doesn't look as the typical Icelandic backyard decoration. And as I got closer to the houses, I was thinking, yes, maybe there are some house owners there who might have an extra big wine cellar under their houses. That might explain why they placed this street there. So I did some digging and found an old high-resolution aerial photo and another one, more recent. And I did a little Photoshop layer work on them to see how it looked before and after they built the houses. And this is more or less how it looks now, but when we remove the houses and go 50 years back in time, we get this. So this crack is not as wide under the houses, but pretty obvious in the landscape though. And as I follow it, it seems to me as it's just a part of the fissure swarm from the Sundanhjúkar craters. But we can't see any such remains of craters in the town itself, nor are there any such information on the geology maps we have. But at least this is telling me a bit about the quality of the building land around there. And if the Sundanhjúkar craters might wake up again, the fissure swarm there might not be the most cozy place on earth, or when the earthquakes start, since some of the houses are built directly over the fissure. And I'm not sure if it would be allowed today. But then we have to bear in mind that the southernmost crater from Sundanhjúkar is a few hundred meters away from the northernmost houses in town, the newest part of town, and that has to be great news or something like that. So I kept on browsing and found myself on the Icelandic land survey web, but they have a geology layer there. But our institutions make sure that you don't find everything in one map. They are really good at that. So I'm always digging up bits and pieces from here and there. But I like the land survey web though. I'm often finding little information nuggets there. And this time I noticed that they had mapped this fault running through town or somewhere around here. And furthermore, it runs straight through the local retirement home. That happens to be the longest building in town, so that house alone might just as well explain the local building policy. But I'm always trying to look for the most logical explanation. And in this case, they must have used extra thick rebar in the slab, planning to use the retirement home as a lock to hold the fault in its current state. But when they built the retirement home, there wasn't a single house around, so they got the location absolutely perfect for this logical theory of mine. And this should explain why there is a dash of sarcasm on my channel. And believe me, we often need it here in Iceland. But we do have more volcanoes to cover today, so let's look at the map first. And the next row of craters is just around here, and it's called Eldvörp. In English, it would be flamethrowers. And that's the area that was shaking only yesterday, May 15th. And we can see the craters here with Grindavik in the background. Then we have Mount Thorbjörn here and the Blue Lagoon again. And if I were to pick from two bad options, the Sundanhjúka row of craters or this location, I would go for this one. But it would depend on the exact location, of course. In both cases, we could be looking at up to 5 kilometer long fissure eruption. In both cases, the power plant and the Blue Lagoon would be at great risk. But as for here, where the earthquakes are now, or directly under us, the lava would not harm the town, according to the maps that were made before the eruption last year, when our experts were trying to figure out where it would come up. So given that we would get a relatively short fissure here, that's perhaps the best outcome for the airport, the tourist industry, and most importantly, the town. And as a turnaround and face the west from here, we see this nice sealed volcano formation. And behind it, we have an area that's very marked by the plate boundaries and the 13th century eruptions on the peninsula. And we even got a whole new island out there since then. And I'm linking to recent videos about this area, since it's a part of this chain of events. And those videos show you the westernmost part of the peninsula from a drone as well. And we are getting very close by the Keflavik International Airport now, and I just noticed that the aviation warning code has been changed from normal to code yellow. And one of our experts stated actually just a while ago that we might just as well get two eruptions at different locations at the same time, or on the seabed somewhere between this 13th century island and the coast, where we have the remains of an old crater. And they told us this very gently. The experts said also that magma could be accumulating at several locations under the peninsula, and that's big news indeed. So I was curious to see what the science community would say after this shaky weekend, but it wasn't much, and goes like this. The magma intrusion is taking place west from Thorbjörn and southwest from the Blue Lagoon, or 1.4 cubic kilometers of magma, not far away from a place where we got the land uplift last year, but a bit deeper though. And that was all we got. But we did get a photo of the expert, but no photo of the magma intrusion location. So I waited for the evening news before I did this voiceover to see if the press would come up with something new, but there was not one word about the earthquakes. But that's not stopping me. The land uplift epicenter is around here from my own map, and here we go flying over that spot just by Mount Thorbjörn. But it wasn't at all hard to make flight plans for last weekend. I simply decided to gather footage from all locations that might be a part of this unfolding story, and so far I got it right. although I do plan to get south again soon for more. And this lava field where we have the land uplift now is called Skipastíkshraun, so it's an easy word for you this time. And we are not directly over the Eldvörp craters. There are some other craters marked here on the geology map, and I'm of course linking to it. But this location is bad news for the Blue Lagoon. So let's take a look at the south side of Mount Thorbjörn. The good news is that those hills would direct any lava flows from the area we came from, away from the town, but some houses might be at risk though. But the bad news is that those same hills include old craters, and there was a whole lot of shaking going on there last year, but it's better now though. So we don't have to worry about them now at least. And those craters produced perhaps 1/3 of the land under the town as we know it today. So the town's land originates from at least 3 fissures around, and it's very clear that the biggest threat comes from the Sundanhjúkar craters. So when the earthquake started in Eldvörp yesterday, I was relieved at first actually, and thinking, okay, it's gonna come up there. But I am swinging a bit back and forth. And as I speculate from my limited knowledge, the Eldvörp unrest yesterday might just be showing us that there is some obstacle by Sundanhjúkar, and the magma is just doing its thing, trying to find the easiest way up. And it might have achieved something yesterday, but the land uplift takes place midst between those 2 likely locations to erupt. So I am at this moment thinking that Sundanhjúkar might still be more likely to erupt next. But my guess is 50-50, and we might even get an eruption midst between. But we do see new clusters of earthquakes appear there. But that is dangerously close to the Blue Lagoon. And as this is not enough, we do also have a magma accumulation confirmed west from Mount Fagradalsfjall, and I did cover that in a recent video, and linking to it, of course. And then we had the earthquake on Mount Hellisheiði just 2 days ago, and even the live feed web from the seismometers crashed earlier today. But it's up again, and there are hundreds of earthquakes every day now. And the Reykjavík Fire Department just asked people to prepare this morning, take things down from shelves, and make sure that things don't move around during a large earthquake. And it's a bit odd that this warning was issued for Reykjavík alone. And it made me wonder, are they preparing for the big earthquake we get every 50 years or so? The one that occurs in the Sulphur Mountains, 20 kilometers away from the capital. But again, we are just getting surprisingly little information, even though we are going through some major events right now. And one of my next videos will be about those large earthquakes we get every 50 years. But I do suspect that I will have to do another update about this situation first, since things are just so hectic around here. So to finish this today, how dangerous can things get in town? The civil defense has evacuation plans ready, and the people there are more or less ready for just about anything. There are also plans available since last year, or to use bulldozers to make barriers quickly at locations that have been selected already in order to protect the town if possible. But before an eruption, we would see the earthquake situation get way worse than now. And we might even be able to follow the magma, even see dike in the making through the extensive network of seismometers we have on the peninsula. So there is even this possibility that the town would be evacuated before an eruption, but that would be a tough decision to make. And a lot of people did actually leave the town as the worst was going on last year before the eruption in Geldingadalur. And if the Sundanhjúkar craters would wake up again, or new craters along that fissure, the biggest question would be how close to town. But the southernmost crater since the last eruption around there is around 800 meters away from the northernmost houses. And the good news is that there are 3 exits from town, 4 if you count the fishing fleet, and we would never see all 3 roads close from lava. There will always be a way out, but will there be a way in after a disaster? That's only for the future to tell. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the Volcano Island, Iceland.